Now folks, I'm down at Al Shindega area in Dubai, the original location, the start of Dubai, doing a walkabout, and I thought I'd just tell you about a new tender process that's just been started. Um, in February, the MOD, the British Ministry of Defence, through a private purchase company called Leidos, are issuing a tender for the next supply of combat boots to the British Army. And I'm wearing at the moment a pair of the Ettori boots that were part of the 2018 contract, the Ettori Desert boots, which I've just previously just done an upgrade on these boots. And while we're walking along, I'll just point out perhaps a couple of things of interest as well. So, that's a wind tower, which is how before you had air conditioning, before you had ACs, you created these towers that forced air down into the living rooms. And prior to 2013, the British Army were using the Combat 95 black boot, and then they were using two desert boots by Lower and Meindl. And then with the change to the NTP uniform, they decided to go with brown boots. So starting in 2013, the plan was every 5 years to issue contracts for various combat boots. Now that's the old palace of the Maktoum family, which of course they're the rulers of Dubai still, and that's their original palace, which is an historic building. So in 2013 they issued the first tender for various boots, and won by various companies. And then again in 2018 they issued another tender, not with all the same categories. Some of the categories from the 2000 tender had been removed, such as the desert patrol boot. They did away with that, so they reduced some of the categories. Again, most of those you can see on the channel over a period of time. So now the new tender process is coming out, and that will be for the combat high liability boot for temperate climates. It will be for the desert combat boot. It will be for patrol boot. It will be for the cold weather boot. I think a small quantity also of jungle boots. So that will be the main contract that will be issued. There's one of the latest ferries just going by. The value of the contract, I don't know how many pairs, but the value of the contract is estimated to be 70 million sterling. The period will be a 7-year period, because it's estimated it will probably take 2 years to award the contract. There's the initial tender process, and then field evaluations for a year in the field. And therefore there will be then a guaranteed 5-year period. We're looking at Burj Khalifa there in the background. That's the modern Dubai, of course. Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. So a contractor's pretty well guaranteed a 5-year period of supply. I think the largest amount will be for the temperate combat boot, because the desert boot scenario is not as great now as it was in previous years. Quite a high commitment is required by any manufacturer to enter that process, because they have to supply free of charge X number of boots, and that I think can value up to 100,000 sterling. So, and of course there's no guarantee then that you can even win the tender. So it's quite a high economic commitment to make to enter the tender. If you've then got to potentially lose 100,000 sterling of your goods, so it's no small thing to think about. That's maybe why companies do think very closely about whether to enter that tender. It probably means that their buildings, I'm just interrupting again, their buildings probably from the 80s and the 90s, or maybe even a few from the 70s, and this part of the Dubai, because it's the older part where the creek is. It does mean that, as I say, there's a high commitment from a manufacturer, and it might be that they don't win any of the tender, or it might be that a tender is awarded, as it has been in the past, of different companies for different parts of the tender. Unlikely to see any of those boots being issued before perhaps 2026, with the tender process and the field process, and obviously a lot even longer than that before they turn up on the surplus market. So it'll be interesting to see who enters and who actually then finally secures the contract. Obviously, Tory's been very well represented in the last tender, and I think even in the previous tender, I think they may have won the total tender and then subcontracted out to the approved manufacturers. Altberg also feature normally, and let's hope they do. They're a great British company with great products, so I would hope that they're successful. So there we are. We'll see what comes out of that. Final look at the creek, and there's one of the planes jetting off again. Take care out there.